So Roger, one of the things that we were talking a lot about your role at YL as a CISO in residence. And what I found interesting about that is a lot of your work seems to be about preparing the portfolio companies for the vendor security reviews that they're going to have to go through. So back to one of the other questions in the podcast. So I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on especially seed companies, early stage companies that probably don't have, a big staff that can deal with this. Like, how can they be preparing for the onslaught they're going to have to deal with, especially when they're trying to sell to enterprise customers?
I love the question because, from being an enterprise CISO, this was the big challenge. We complain all day long, right? Yeah. That's one thing we do. We complain.
We're very good.
We're good at that one.
Yeah.
But we complain about the things that we need, the things that would actually help us be more successful and do our jobs better. And one of those things is the tech. Mm-hmm. And sometimes if you have to wait for the tech to mature to a certain level so that you can bring it in, that's too late.
Yep.
Right? When we do our assessment, we identify what that is. We need to be able to move. Brilliance in these entrepreneurs that are coming out with this new tech. They know what the tech can do. What they're not comfortable with, or what they don't know, is what are the expectations of, a Global 2000 company to be able to even do a proof of concept or to do that tech. That learning curve, from talking to entrepreneurs and from being on the inside, trying to bring companies in to work with them, that's a big challenge for them and a big frustration for them. So, coming into YL as CISO in residence, being able to incubate and, to have a piece of a product manager type role to where you're actually helping them build the right tech, build the right features, and show them what's important, what will get them through to be able to sell their product, which is the success of their product, which ties into the success of the company. What can you do? Everything doesn't have to be, a full blown out bureaucratic process, right? Risk assessment, annual risk assessment. Do you have a business continuity plan? You're in the cloud. That's not going to be that hard to put together real quick, right? Do you do a pen test? Of course you do that, right? Do you have the right process in your SDLC to be able to assure your code is correct? These things are there. If you're working with any of the cloud service providers, they have, a process as well to make it really simple to be able to leverage what they have and to build that out. So to me, there's a big education component to this of just showing them what's important. They know what's important on the tech. They're not experts in understanding what's important from a business continuity standpoint.
Yeah, I liked what you said there about really concentrating on what matters, right? Yeah. Especially with with our vendor security review processes, a lot of the times, a lot of those questions in there don't matter,
right?
And helping the portfolio companies to kind of navigate that, help them understand what those bare necessities are, given that they're operating on a shoestring budget. So I like the way that you're talking about it that way.
Well, from being on both sides of that fence, right? Going into talking to the procurement team for a customer that we're supporting the integrity of our product with, and they don't know what our product does or even why we're there, and so half of that conversation is not applicable, right?
So are you going to have conversations with procurement teams?
I believe I will.
Okay, and then thinking about that a little bit further, the question was really, how do we prepare vendors for the reviews? How are you going to go in and talk with those procurement teams and help them out? How are you going to educate them?
Well, that's the idea, right? Because if you're looking at doing a customer trust program, and in that customer trust program, that's where you have a copy of your annual risk assessment and then the project plan for any mitigation work that you have to do. That's where you're going to have your pen test, same thing, right? But having a white paper that talks about what your product does, as well as what are the protections on your product, and having that type of presentation, so that when the founders or the sales team for this new startup, because the founders are the sales team for a new startup,
that's how that works,
right? So when they walk in there, they've got an outline and they've got a playbook to how to speak to procurement, right? This is what they're going to be looking for. So instead of letting the customer drive in that area, of going through 1,099 questions that half of them are not applicable, set the context for the conversation up front so you can dive into the right questions and you can start answering the questions that are applicable to what you're doing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think, if we look forward a few years, we're probably going to see more of that. We're probably going to see more of these CISO in residence concepts that can actively coach these startups, but also actively coach their prospects on what they should be really thinking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Then there's always the whole tagline of how to talk to a CISO.
Right. Well, we all know that CISOs are very difficult to talk to.
Well, my answer is don't. Talk to the director of security engineering. Don't talk to the CISO.
And that is your tip. Don't talk to CISOs.